Hello guys, message in a bottle here, and sorry for the background noise, it's very hot, and I'm using my large fan to cool down this room. It's literally like very hot over here. Over There are sometimes where it's all over 100 degrees, no joke, but it seems like it's gonna stay between around 90 to 100 degrees all week until of course summer ends, but it's gonna take be a while at this point. Anyway, I'm starting to make videos on my main computer, and I should have done that a while ago because throughout my YouTube channel, you guys probably noticed that I make videos with my phone, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I feel like if I'm gonna start taking this whole YouTube channel more seriously, I should have done it on my computer. Which, by the way, I downloaded a software for video editing. It's called uh, Premiere Pro, and I gotta admit it's complicated, but I'm learning. So eventually, I'm gonna make nice videos, but it's a long learning process. But anyway, I gotta start somewhere, and I gotta continue making videos. So as usual, every time when I pick a picture for a video, it's always like related to the subject that I want to talk about. And today I want to talk about my favorite Chaos faction in Warhammer 40k and how it relates to the real world, um, what we're seeing today. I was watching a video the other day, and this video perfectly, I couldn't say it myself even better, but this video perfectly demonstrates why I love Slaanesh. If you guys have been following my YouTube channel, I mentioned several times throughout my previous videos that I'm a strong believer that when it comes to art, art is like a reflection of our reality. And because of this philosophy that I believe in, I believe that sometimes whenever you watch a movie or whenever you listen to a comedian telling a joke, especially comedians, they always give a hint of what's really going on in our real world, in our reality that we live in. And the whole media of Warhammer 40k, it does reflects a lot of stuff. If you guys ever get into it, you'll notice that it's essentially like a retelling story of the Roman Empire, fighting foreigners in all fronts and symbolic issues, not just like the physical issue, but also the spiritual issue. But of course, Warhammer 40k is still fictional, obviously, and it's still, how do I say this? It's still a fantasy, but it talks about, on its theme, it talks about like real world stuff that happened before. Just to get to the point, Slaanesh represents what happened when a country, or should I say an empire, reached its peak, and then its people started to have more decay. In other words, start to abandon its morals that got got them at its peak in the first place. I'm definitely gonna leave a link down in the description below about this YouTuber who made a fantastic video about Slaanesh. He made it very perfectly. I don't know how I could say it myself, and I'm very tempted to use his video, but I don't want to get copyright or anything. All credits goes to him, and if I do use his clip, I'll make sure he receives all the credits for that. But he said it perfectly in that video analysis that Slaanesh represents what happened when countries or empires reach its peak and its people start to relax. Its people start to like not take their social morale more seriously. And the story behind Warhammer 40k Slaanesh, the Chaos faction, is that Slaanesh itself was born out of the decadence where the Eldars they reach their peak of empire where they have like no hunger, no diseases, not no serious war going on, Like they have everything very nice and perfect, and then they started to do crazy stuff because they were quote unquote bored with their life. Like they were living boring lives. So they started to party, they started to do drugs, they started to have rampant sexual desires. And then all of a sudden, because they kept doing that and they're psychically sensitive according to the lore, they birthed a literally demon god, which is Slaanesh. And how this relates to the real world? Well, supposedly right now Western civilization, we're seeing a decline, a rapid decline, and we all kind of wonder why we're seeing this, why we're seeing things getting worse. Well, I think it's obvious. Just look at people's behavior. People are not getting married. People are not taking relationships seriously. People are not taking their local communities seriously. People are being the victims while simultaneously acting like criminals. And since I talk a lot about relationship on this channel, keep in mind that in our current society, we're tolerating, like never seen before, we're tolerating casual dating, one night stand. Like we're even tolerating, what's the word? Those type of parties where everyone could freely engage in sexual activities. Orgy parties, that's the word. And all this is a reflection, well, not a reflection, but all this is being well descriptivized in the Warhammer 40k lore with Slaanesh. Slaanesh is basically a reflection of what's going on in our reality, our hedonistic reality. And this is why I love Slaanesh in Warhammer 40k, because it perfectly encapsulates of what's going on in our current downfall of Western civilization. I know I sound like I'm rambling, but my whole point is this, guys. This work of art, this picture that you see right here, where the females are going crazy with eyes of lust, and there's a demon commanding them to do crazy stuff. This is a reflection of our current society, of why everything is getting worse. We all just care about how we feel. And since we care about how we feel, we want to feel good. So what we do drugs. That's why there's a drug epidemic here in the United States. But I believe this drug epidemic is slowly reaching to other countries like Canada, Britain, because I do hear stories that now there's literally drug lords that are reaching in those areas. And it's once again, it's all our hedonistic society. And because we want to feel better through drugs, we also want to feel better through casual dating, one night stands. But what happened when the all the hedonistic, all the party is over? We feel depressed. So the cycle starts all over again, where we want to feel good again. And that's why we have a drug addiction. That's why we have casual sex addiction. This is why everything is getting worse. Because the demons are basically taking over. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm definitely going to leave a link down in the description below, because this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So guys, enjoy your evening, and I hope you have a pleasant day. Goodbye.
The Warhammer Milky Way galaxy, putting it mildly. And it gets especially awkward when it comes to inclusivity of sexual identity. Not in the 40k universe as a whole, because, you know, there's an entire faction that includes all the identities that you would want in that department. But I'm talking about how one of the writers was caught trying to shoehorn gender transitioning into the Imperium of Man. But it doesn't make sense, because not only is this a universe where sexual activity and pleasure have to be tightly disciplined, otherwise an interdimensional literal sex fiend will infect your society with temptation and unravel it from the inside, but androgynous non-binary sexuality is associated with decadence and societal collapse. because Slaanesh is highly associated with that. From having several different pronouns to also influencing her followers into having surgical alterations to their bodies. And Slaanesh followers often become hermaphrodites, with a female breast on one side and a male chest on the other. And just look at this symbol of Slaanesh. Doesn't it remind you of something? And if you think this is awkward for Games Workshop, wait till you find out how in Warhammer lore, artists and political elites easily fall under the sway of Slaanesh and spread her influence in their societies so that it can be destroyed by chaos. Which means that a lot of this ESG stuff and pushing this message makes GW resemble Slaaneshi cultists in their own lore. But I want to make clear that this doesn't apply to simple homosexuality though. Historically speaking, lesbianism has been typically tolerated by several hegemonic empires, and warrior cultures like Japan have had homosexuality enshrined in their books like the Hagakure, which is about obedience to your lord, and if your lord wants you to take his sword up your scabbard, you're obliged to obey.
Japan is the greatest, wonderful culture of manly love.
So the few cases of homosexuality that you see perfectly tolerated in the Imperium of Man, in several of the books, as outlined by Major Kill in one of his videos, is actually perfectly plausible for this kind of empire. It's the transgender surgeries and the fall of gender roles which would not make any sense in the patriarchal Imperium of Man. It would be immediately interpreted as Slaaneshi activity. I mean, if our planet existed in the Warhammer universe, with Spanish politicians eating poop, sex-crazed political staffers filming anal prawn in the American Senate building, Lolita resorts for politicians, complete with pagan temples on those islands, and whatever the fuck the Irish were doing in Eurovision.
Do you know what makes me special? I'm a queer. Woo! And I'm a witch!
We would clearly be suffering a total Slaaneshi takeover. I believe this idea of the Eldar's civilizational collapse due to hedonism is inspired by ideas expressed by famous academics like Camille Paglia, a professor from Yale who postulates a correlation between gender ambiguity with the fall of empires.
Was that my overview of history, my noticing that in late phases, you all of a sudden get a proliferation of homosexuality, of sadomasochism, of gender games and impersonations and masks and so on. So I believe we're in a late phase. We're in a late phase of culture.
So that the proliferation of cultural identities, the proliferation of all sorts of possibilities is actually a sign that we're
on the verge of collapse.
Yeah.
Yes, Western culture is in decline. There's absolutely no doubt about it, okay?
The West is definitely in decline, and this era will be the laughingstock of history. Even more so by the fact that it's painstakingly recorded by our digital devices. A lot of this crap on TikTok will be analyzed by future historians as symptoms of decline. Heck, it might even make it into their children's educational system. Like, okay kids, as we learned from our studies of American history, if you see one of your fellow classmates dressing up like a cartoon animal and meowing like a cat, bully the shit out of that mother hugger for the sake of our glorious empire!